Rev up your engine. Okay, here we got a Honda Accord, good used car. He got it from his father for $3 grand. It's now got 130,000. Still runs good, but it's got nasty shaking pulling at 60, 70 miles an hour. Now the owner's no fool. He had it balanced, he had it aligned. That's not the problem. He even had the tires moved back and rebalanced. It still doesn't. Now the owner warned me it had been wrecked, which I can see in the front here. So first we're gonna jack it up, see if it has anything to do with being wrecked. So I'll jack it up. Up it goes. Stick the old jack stand under for safety and check under here. There's no real play here anywhere. That's normal. But listen to this. You can hear it better under here. I've seen that 1,000 times. Now, I see the bushings aren't worn. There's nothing wrong with them. He had the alignment done, so we know it's not the alignment. Oh, the tires are old. They still got tread left on them. And it's not like they're all worn on one side versus the other. And anyway, we can forget that because they moved the tires around. It did the same with the back and the front. It's not the tire either. You can always do that yourself. Cheap, easy fix. Put the front in the back and the back in the front. If it goes away, hey, you know it was the front. When you put the front in the back and it goes away, you can leave them in the back because the back doesn't make the front shake unless it's really, really bad. As you look around, you can see these babies are dry rotting, so it's time to get new tires soon anyway. Check the other side just for giggles. And this time I'm not using a jack stand. You know why? Because I'm staying right here. I'm not crawling under there. I'm just pulling on a tire. It's got no play. It's got a tiny bit of wear. Not as much as the other side. So I would say the other side's making it shake, but I mean, as old as it is, you can change them both, but this one doesn't make all that much noise. It has some play, but it's not too bad. And realize one thing, watch my videos, do it yourself. You can get these axles for like 59 bucks a piece brand new if you price around. You learn how to do it, you can change each side in about half an hour. Don't pay some guy $1,600 for new dealer ones. They're easy to change. It's not that big of a deal. So just for giggles, we'll hook up the scan tool, see what kind of information comes out. It scanned it with no problems at all, and we'll do diagnosis. And here we go, a smart scan. Of course it acts crazy, I touched the wrong button, so you can erase that. So we'll do a smart scan. And here we go. Does just about everything. Look at all the systems that are interrelated that it's running through. It's got a couple of codes. The first one is the TPMS. For the throttle system, right front tire pressure sensor transmission failure, and tire 1 pressure sensor transmission failure. Now that's not the automatic transmission, that's the sensor not transmitting. And like I tell people, you hit a car, each one of those dumb sensors has a battery built in. You got to take the tire apart, replace the whole piece. You can't replace the battery, so who cares? Get a tire gauge, measure your own tire pressure, cost you $6 for a tire gauge. Now we'll see what the ABS says. ABS says the modulator control unit power source circuit has low voltage. So in other words, at some point in time, probably his battery was a little low on voltage. It gets this modulator control unit power source circuit low voltage. He said he never had a problem with the ABS. The tires never locked up. So you get nitpicky when you're getting an old car like that. Stuff like that, who cares? So let's take it for a road test. Typical Honda Accord. It's old, but it still rides quite well. When it comes to handling, I do have to admit, they do handle better than the Toyotas. I like the Camrys, but the Accords are more fun to drive if you like zipping around. AC is still freezing cold. It's 94 today, so I appreciate that. Now, since we're trying to figure out the shaking, we're not going to do a drag run here, but we're going to slow down because there's somebody in front of us, and we want to get going fast enough so we can feel the shaking. So we'll just tootle along here a while, enjoy the scenery. There's nobody behind us, so it's safe to go slow. And now we'll get moving. Too bad. I personally wouldn't even worry about it. Judging by the age of the tires, I wouldn't put the axle on just yet. I would change the front tires. That's all I would do. See what happens. And the reason I'd say that, because even on my own personal cars, I had cars that did the same exact thing, and I looked at the tires, they were old and dry rotted. I put 2 new front tires on, and it all went away. Notice that even though he said he had an alignment done, it does pull slowly to the right. And that could be simply the tires themselves because of their age and their wear. That's why I'd start with putting new tires on this thing first. Normally, if you got a problem, you put the front tires in the back and the back tires in the front, still got the same problem. You think, well, it's not the tires. But in this case, if you have old tires in the front and put them in the back, but then the back tires are old and you put them in the front, still got old tires on the front. And in this case, I think a lot of it has to do with the tires. Sometimes it's that simple. I do have to say, the guys that did the alignment, I'd be kind of wondering about them. They should have road tested the car more and saw that it still had a problem, but who knows, yeah? The axle, okay, it's got some play, but it wasn't that bad. The last Honda that I did when I road tested it and the axle was actually bad, it shook like gangbusters, and this wasn't even close to that. His, the inner CV, the boot had ripped and the grease had leaked out. This one still has the grease in it. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Geo Farron says, I bought my son a 2021 Hyundai. I want your gold stamp of approval. We like the way that it looks. Did I make a mistake or not? Well, he also said they looked at Hondas. I personally would have bought the Honda. Understand, all the Korean cars, as they age, have a tendency of breaking down tons more than Hondas and Toyotas. The big problem is, over time, they're not reliable. You even have the problem with noises coming on a new car, especially at the door edges. This is a $35,000 car. The cosmetics should be spot on. It kind of reminds me of Tesla. He's got $80,000, $90,000 cars where the fit of the hood isn't right, the trunk isn't right. For that kind of money, it should be perfect, and it's not. That's why I've even told people if they wanted to buy an electric car and they want to spend money and get a fancy one, I would buy an Audi electric car over a Tesla. The fit and finish is better on the Audis. The suspension is infinitely superior in the Audis. And I'm not an Audi fan by any stretch of the imagination, but their electric car is eons above Teslas in terms of cars and performance and looks, because Audi's been making cars for a long time in luxury cars. They look good. The fit and finish is good. The paint is good. You don't get that in a Tesla. The same thing with the Korean cars. You don't get the fit, the finish, the long life you do out of a Toyota and a Honda. I mean, you bought it, so take care of it. I hope it lasts as long as it can. They're cool looking cars. I'm sure your son likes it, but I personally would not have bought that particular car. Scott G says, I got a problem with my 2001 Jeep. It says no bus, but the vehicle runs. I've cleaned connectors. I tried disconnecting the airbag module, but it keeps doing the no bus. That means you got a problem in the computer or the computer wiring system or the sensors. Unfortunately, it is so complex. The guy said, yeah, your airbag module, I've seen them where the airbag modules are bad. When you unplug it, it stops saying no bus. Then you know there's a problem in the airbag, right? Well, unfortunately, any sensor that feeds into the computer can cause that no bus code. So can a bad wiring problem between the sensor and the computer, a bad computer itself. From my experience with Jeeps, the computers go bad all the time. But don't rush out and buy a computer because they cost a lot of money. And like I said, any sensor goes bad, it'll trip that code. So you can buy a new computer, put it in, you'll still have the code. So you probably want to pay a really good Jeep electronics mechanic who will go through it and figure out, okay, what is not working right? And unfortunately, they're that complex with all that feedback that anything on that system can make it do no bus. It means that there's no communications on the bus line, which is like your backbone in your back where all the main information goes through. At least it's still running. You gotta be happy with that. That's the problem with cars as they age. A lot of times you live with codes. They'll trip so many codes. If it runs good enough, what the heck? It's an '01 Jeep. Keep driving the thing. And hope it continues to run. Geo Jesse 92 says, what's the best van for my antique business? My parents have a large antique business, need something for hauling their antiques. They travel to different states, so it needs powerful enough for highway, but not too big it's difficult to drive in a city. You know, I don't know what size antiques you're talking about. The absolute best van, reliable, easy to drive, is a Toyota Sienna. And I've had people buy them, and they take all the back seats out, and they have a driver's and passenger seat. They take all the other seats out, and there's tons of room inside. Now, if they need a taller one, then, you know, you're talking about Sprinter vans, you're talking about Ford Transit vans, but those things are big and they're not that fun to drive around in the city. Plus, they're more commercial vans and they cost an awful lot of money to buy a good one. And I don't advise buying a used one that's got 200,000-300,000 miles on it, because then they'll have a tendency of breaking down and costing a fortune to fix. They cost an awful lot of money. So if you do buy a used one and save money, the repairs on it will probably make up for your loss and what you paid between new and used, because you're going to pay a ton getting it repaired. So I don't advise buying used ones with high mileage. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.